second time. On debate, Senator Calvares.
Dear colleagues, I rise today to speak at second reading as a sponsor in the Senate of Bill C-12, an act respecting transparency and accountability in Canada's effort to achieve net zero greenhouse emissions by the year 2050. I will focus on the general context and the main principles and objectives of the bill. Scientists are clear. Climate change is the biggest threat to humanity in the history of our species. Current average global temperatures are close to 1.2 degrees above pre-industrial levels, while Canada has experienced twice this warming and the Arctic 3 times. Here in Canada, these changes are leading to intense heat waves, melting of permafrost, sea level rise, intense and frequent extreme weather events, and the northern expansion of disease-transmitted insects affecting biodiversity and species health. Each of these impacts, in turn, cause a series of domino effects which impact every aspect of our life and society, whether urban, rural, or Nordic. We have upset the delicate balance of life support system provided by our planet, and we have breached several of the planetary boundaries, allowing sustainable life on Earth, one of them being a stable climate. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is at its highest level in the last 14 million years. Now, at over 400 parts per million, we have far exceeded the 200 milligrams per liter when our distant ancestors began farming, and that allowed the development we enjoy today. Since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the extraction, processing, and combustion of fossil fuels for energy have been the primary emitter of greenhouse gases. In fact, 78% of the total increase in emissions between 1970 and 2010 are due to fossil fuel combustion and industrial processes. We are learning more and more about how the fossil fuel industry has consistently furthered its interests at the expense of a safe climate. It was persistently lobbied governments for weaker environmental laws and further entrenchment of the use of fossil fuels. Their efforts have resulted in unprecedented subsidies, weak environmental regulation, and the sluggish development of cheaper and safer low-carbon energy sources. A growing number of independent investigations and allegations in court cases around the world show how some of these biggest oil and gas corporations funded climate change deniers and hid important knowledge on climate change developed by their own researchers for decades. As a result of these efforts, societies and ecosystems around the world are suffering the impacts of climate change and pollution. Close to home, here in Canada, over 7,000 people die each year due to air pollution from burning fossil fuels. And at a global level, there is an estimated 10.2 million premature deaths annually due to the burning of fossil fuels. Considering Canada's history of environmental racism, these health costs are incurred disproportionately by structurally oppressed groups such as Indigenous people, women, seniors, children, and people with disabilities. This, colleagues, is socially and morally unacceptable. According to the Canadian Institute for Climate Choices, insured losses for catastrophic weather events total over $18 billion between 2010 and 2018, and the number of catastrophic events was over 3 times higher than in the 1980s. According to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, these insured losses amounted to $2.4 billion in damage in 2020, and insured losses are roughly 3 to 4 times higher. Who can afford these catastrophic losses? Some provinces are hit more than others with extreme weather events. British Columbia and Alberta have experienced the worst forest fires in Canadian history. The 2016 Fort McMurray wildfire caused the evacuation of 88,000 residents with an overall cost of $8.9 billion. As I stand here today with you, I record there is a record-breaking heat wave in British Columbia, setting and breaking record temperatures day after day. Nous ne pouvons plus argumenter avec les besoins urgents de renverser cette tendance en réduisant nos émissions de gaz à effet de serre pour éviter d'empirer la déstabilisation du climat et de notre société. Notre inaction climatique affecte notre santé, affecte notre prospérité et notre sécurité. Un refus de changer maintenant ne peut que nous condamner à l'obsolescence industrielle, à nuire notre compétitivité et endommager notre réputation internationale. À l'inverse, atteindre la carboneutralité d'ici 2050 impliquerait entre 30 et 100 milliards de dollars en coûts de santé évités au Canada seulement. Selon l'Organisation mondiale de la santé, les gains en santé de l'action climatique sont 2 fois plus importants que les coûts liés aux politiques d'atténuation. En décembre 2015, à la 21e conférence des parties à la Convention cadre des Nations unies sur le changement climatique, 194 pays ont conclu une entente historique dans l'accord de Paris visant à limiter le réchauffement climatique à un niveau bien inférieur à 2 degrés centigrades, de préférence à 1,5 degrés Celsius, par rapport au niveau pré-industriel. Le Canada a fait preuve de leadership en menant la charge pour l'inclusion de la cible plus ambitieuse de 1,5 degrés Celsius plutôt que de 2 degrés. L'accord de Paris aussitôt introduit le concept de la carboneutralité, soit un équilibre entre les émissions anthropiques par les sources et les absorptions anthropiques par les puits de gaz à effet de serre. La carboneutralité est devenue l'objectif depuis le rapport spécial du groupe d'experts intergouvernemental pour l'évolution du climat de 2018 qui avait conclu que limiter l'augmentation de la température à 1,5 degré requiert que les émissions anthropiques nettes de dioxyde de carbone doivent être zéro autour de 2050. Collègues, nous devons agir maintenant. Les coûts associés à l'atteinte de l'objectif de 1,5 degré augmentent de 5 000 milliards de dollars globalement pour chaque année d'inaction. L'accord de Paris doit aussi être mis en œuvre sur la base de l'équité et des responsabilités communes mais différenciées. Ceci porte conséquence pour le Canada, un pays riche et développé, avec un plus haut niveau d'émissions historiques et de développement qui est associé. Il est important de mentionner que le dioxyde de carbone dans l'atmosphère persiste pendant des centaines d'années. Les émissions remontant au balbutiement de la révolution industrielle sont toujours dans notre atmosphère. Le Canada est le 10e plus grand contributeur au changement climatique et ses émissions par personne sont parmi les plus élevées au monde, soit 2 fois plus élevées que celles de la Norvège. Comme vous le savez, le Canada n'a jamais atteint ses cibles climatiques de réduction de ses émissions territoriales depuis le début des négociations internationales. Il y a de cela 30 ans, et nous avons connu la plus grande augmentation des émissions de tous les pays de G7 depuis. Colleagues, it is literally the time to go from zero to hero in this race for net zero. C12 is the first step and the starting gunshot. C12 is not a plan to make a plan. It is a comprehensive framework with a clear goal: attain net zero emissions as soon as possible and at the latest in 2015. Countries, industries, and corporations all have heard the signal, and they are off the starting line, some with advantage. The more we lag, the less chance we have at keeping up with the more it will cost to us. Fortunately, Canadians are ready for change and are demanding concrete action. The majority of Canadians from all provinces believe the energy transition is unavoidable. 2/3 of Canadians want Canada to do better than the average and shift to low-carbon energy and clean technologies. The pandemic has not altered this support. 2 weeks ago, the G7 committed to, quote, to ambitious and accelerated efforts to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions as soon as possible and by 2050 at the latest, recognizing the importance of significant action this decade, close quote. There are 121 countries in the Climate Ambition Alliance which have committed to working towards achieving net zero CO2 emissions by 2050. 2 nations have already achieved net zero emission and now claim to be carbon negative. 34 other countries have made commitments to achieve carbon neutrality prior to or by 2050, including 5 OECD countries that have net zero commitments earlier than 2050. C12 is about ensuring Canada finally joins the club. In the private sector, at least 1/5 of the world's 2,000 largest public companies have committed to meet net zero targets. The companies together represent sales of nearly $14 trillion. Even the Canadian oil sector is now on board. Earlier this month, companies operating approximately 90% of Canada's oil sands production announced an initiative to achieve net zero greenhouse emissions from oil sands operations by 2050. Last month, the International Energy Agency, an organization of fossil fuel suppliers, released a comprehensive roadmap for the global energy sector to reach net zero by 2050, which stated the transition to net zero is, quote, a huge opportunity for our economies with the potential to create millions of new jobs and boost economic growth, end quote. In their February 2021 report, Canada's Net Zero Future, the Canadian Institute for Climate Choices examined more than 60 possible pathways to reach net zero by 2050. And in all of them, Canada's GDP is substantially larger than it is today. Canadians understand and agree with the data. The majority feel that the economic opportunities of the transition outweigh the economic risk. Racing towards net zero is a tremendous opportunity for a more prosperous and resilient future for all Canadians, especially our children and those who will follow. C12 is how we start acting for them. The way to ensure our climate goals are achieved is through climate accountability legislation, which was pioneered by the UK in 2008 and ensure that they reach the greatest greenhouse gas emission reduction of all G7 countries since. At least 15 countries have legislated climate accountability since. De plus, la responsabilité climatique n'est pas un nouveau concept au Canada. Déjà, 6 provinces ont mis en œuvre une loi de responsabilité climatique. Le Québec a adopté son propre cadre de responsabilisation l'automne dernier avec un organisme consultatif qui doit être composé d'une majorité de scientifiques et qui comprend des dispositions interdisant les conflits d'intérêts. Le Comité québécois du climat est composé aux 3/4 de scientifiques. L'île du Prince-Édouard s'est fixé un objectif de carboneutralité d'ici 2040 et la Nouvelle-Écosse vise à être la première province carboneutre. Le secteur public de la Colombie-Britannique a atteint la carboneutralité depuis 2010 et sa législation exige des rapports annuels publics avec des exigences détaillées. C12 est une loi sur la transparence et la responsabilité climatique composée de 29 articles. Entre autres, le projet de loi exige l'établissement de cibles progressivement plus ambitieuses pour réduire les émissions de gaz à effet de serre avec comme objectif final la carboneutralité au plus tard en 2050. y compris des objectifs jalons à chaque 5 années d'ici là. Il crée un processus de planification et d'évaluation des progrès du gouvernement fédéral vers ces cibles et établit un groupe consultatif pour la carboneutralité pour donner des conseils indépendants au ministre de l'Environnement et du Changement climatique. Il exige du commissaire à l'environnement et au développement durable d'évaluer les progrès et il exige du ministre des Finances de faire rapport sur les mesures visant à faire aux risques et occasions d'ordre financier liés au changement climatique. Bill C-12 has been extended by over 30 amendments proposed at the other place. During the reading, I will explain how these amendments have resulted in stronger transparency and accountability and increased ambition and collaboration. Establishing this goal in legislation signals Canada's commitment to leadership and action on climate change. It makes sure the government starts being accountable and transparent to Canadians on the path to achieve net zero emissions. It ensures continuity in setting targets that are grounded in science and developed with the input of the provinces and territories, Indigenous people and their knowledge, experts and Canadians from coast to coast to coast. C-12 will also establish a durable, transparent and accountable mechanism that will help Canada deliver on its commitment under the Paris Agreement to limit the risk of climate change. Adopting this bill will support the international momentum toward net zero by joining a growing number of jurisdictions in doing so. Dear colleagues, dear senators, climate accountability is greatly needed in our country to set the path towards a better future for our children and grandchildren. For all the reasons above, I urge you to agree with Canadians for the important need of this legislation and support this bill as amendment by the other place. Merci, thank you, Miigwech.
On